Our CJE programs are built on 3 pillars: support our community of educators, build Jewish engagement opportunities, and serve as an incubator of new ideas and initiatives. We support our community of more than 400 educators through pillar number 1 by hosting the Institute of Advanced Teacher Education, as well as our various school directors' councils that meet monthly to consult and collaborate on issues pertaining to best practices in professional development and school administration. Our second pillar, Jewish engagement, brings us Learning Fest, a full day of Jewish education. More than 1,400 participants joined us in 2013, and we hope that you will join us this Sunday, March 23rd, for Learning Fest 2014. Our Teacher Library hosts twice-annual community reads, book clubs, and special programs serving more than 1,000 patrons. PJ Library was introduced to our community 2 years ago, and thanks to the Mankoff family, nearly 1,800 Dallas area children, 1,800, ages 6 months to 8 years, receive Jewish-themed books each month. If you attended the PJ Birthday Bash in September, you know the joy of these children and the impact on their families. Our creative community has definitely stepped up to the plate for pillar number 3, incubating new ideas and initiatives. CJE recently launched its incubator incentive grants to promote innovation in Jewish education in Dallas. In so doing, the CJE is investing up to $60,000 of the proceeds of the money raised in last year's night to celebrate Jewish education with our community partners. This year, our first year, 24 congregations and Jewish communal institutions submitted grant requests for new and innovative programs. Joy and Ron, your dedication to Jewish education and Jewish continuity, evidenced by the success of PJ Library, has been touched by your unique and creative vision. We are so fortunate to have you in our Dallas Jewish community and so honored to be here with you tonight. We are also thankful to those who have supported us in making this event a success and to everyone who has joined us this evening. Please hold your applause while we acknowledge them. Thank you to our clergy who have joined us this evening. We also appreciate our community partners and agencies joining us in this evening's celebration. Thank you to our tribute events sponsors. We are most appreciative of our Federation corporate sponsors who make community events such as this one possible. Thank you to our lay and professional teams from the CJE and Federation for your endless hard work. Thank you to the Federation Board Chair, Cindy Sweet-Moskowitz, and Federation Interim President and CEO, Bradley Lay, for their support of CJE programming and initiatives. And thank you to our PJ Library ambassadors. And to those who volunteer and support our CJE, including our CJE Advisory Committee, we thank you for being so amazingly generous with your time, wisdom, and resources. I'd also like to acknowledge Paul Lewis, representing Harold Grinspoon and PJ Library National. Thank you for being here tonight. And finally, no night to celebrate Jewish education would be complete without taking a few moments to acknowledge some of the most important people in the room, who are truly the unsung heroes, our community's teachers and educators. These dedicated individuals are on the front lines, day in and day out, instilling in our children and adults a passion for Jewish life and culture. They are the ones with whom we entrust the task of ensuring the Jewish future of our next generations. While it's not possible to fully show them the extent to our gratitude, we'd like to ask all of our community preschool, religious school, day school, youth program, and adult educators and administrators to rise so that we may recognize you for your service to our community and Jewish people. Thank you. Rise, rise. Thank you, we appreciate you. Together, Joy, Ron, you, me, all of us have strengthened Jewish education in Dallas. And because of this, more and more of our community will learn Jewish, think Jewish, and do Jewish.
About 24 years ago, in Bible study class at Temple Emmanuel, we were studying the exalted verses of Isaiah chapter 40, which are familiar to us from Shabbat Nachamu, or from Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, or from anywhere in between. Kol Koreh, Bamidbar Panu Derech Adonai. A voice rings out, clear in the desert, a road for the Lord, level in the wilderness, a highway for our God. Let every valley be raised, every hill and mount made low. Let the rugged ground become level, and the rough places a plain. And I, as a newly minted rabbi, had just finished delivering those verses in my best dramatic intonation, and Joy Mankoff raised her hand. And she asked, is Isaiah trying to present a vision of what the world should be like? And I, with great newly minted rabbinic confidence, said yes. To which Joy replied, well, who would want to live in a world like that? Who would want to live in a world where the hills and the valleys look the same? Who would want to live in a world where everything is pre-smoothed out? And where the whole path ahead is just one endless vanilla plateau? Hold that question. We are here tonight because we honor the Ron and Joy, who we know are supporters of Jewish learning in all sorts of ways, most notably through the Mankoff Jewish Learning Center, through their extraordinary support for PJ Library. And hopefully we are here tonight because we know that the Mankoffs are participants in Jewish learning, that they show up for class, that they ask hard questions, that they're present at programs and at lectures, that they know that sermons are not declarations but invitations to dialogue, because in countless ways they demonstrate how much they value the life of the Jewish mind as being central to the life of the Jewish people. Hold that question from 24 years ago, because it expresses what I believe is a core commitment of Joy and Ron Mankoff. And that is that the greatest fruit of Jewish learning is the Jewish deed. And the greatest of the Jewish deeds are those that bring healing to a broken world. That we wrestle with the text in order to wrestle with the world, to wrestle with its injustice, to wrestle with its incompletion, to embrace the possibility of partnership with the Holy and Blessed One. To wrestle the world not towards a time when all the hills and valleys will look alike, when the road ahead will be mindlessly smooth, but to a time when every wayfarer on that desert path will make his and her way in decency and in dignity. That, I would presume to say, is Mankoff Torah. May we be wise enough and worthy enough and blessed enough to emulate their example. And Ron and Joy, may you continue to go from strength to strength.
The Center for Jewish Education of our Federation is the hub for Jewish education in Dallas. The work they do each day is mostly behind the scenes, their own leaders constantly learning and moving new ideas forward. PJ Library, brought to us and sustained by Joy and Ron Mankoff and the Mankoff Family Foundation, is a shining example of the CJE's work. PJ Library illustrates the transformative power of visionary philanthropy and of stories to educate young families and enhance Jewish life. The Federation seeks to ensure the continuum of services from birth to birthright, from young to old. The work we do with young families is clearly in great hands with CJE and Public Library and PJ Library. Thank you, Joy and Ron, and your family for your support and vision. Yasher Koach.
I live in Los Angeles now, but as I look around this room on a night like tonight, I feel like Dallas is my home. I really do. My parents knew they were not going to live in Minneapolis or in Hartford. 55 years ago, on the eve of their marriage, Ron and Joy Mankoff had an important decision to make. Where would they set their roots? Where would they make their new lives? Some of you may know this and many of you don't, but it was between San Francisco and Dallas. But unlike in some recent football games, Dallas won this battle. And it turned out to be a wonderful match. Dallas helped guide the growth of Ron and Joy, and Ron and Joy helped guide the growth of Dallas. All these years later, we and so much of the city have benefited from that decision 55 years ago.
Mom and Dad's decision had an important impact on their business and on their personal level. It was a great decision for my dad to come to Dallas from a business perspective because he met a man named Mr. Durant who right after he came to Dallas, he had just graduated from NYU and, with an LLM in tax. And right away in 1959 or 60, he got a job with Mr. Durant. And he was very lucky because right away he became a partner and his name was on the letterhead, Durant Mankoff. He, of course, always said he's very lucky. He was lucky because he married my mother, his wife, but he was also lucky because he had the priorities straight with regards to his life. He, while building his tax law firm, he always knew that he needed to be home. And every day at 5:30, I remember coming home, and Doug and I would rush to the door, and Daddy's home, and we would each latch on to a leg, and he would drag us over the red brick of the living room at 5839 Colehurst. Thank you, Dad, for being there to throw the football with us, teach us the wrestling moves, and watch Cowboy games as well when we were winning. My mom always said that we all have different roles in life. You know, she was the daughter of George and Hannah Schechtman, the sister of Mort and Marilyn and Susan. She was a student at Connecticut College, in a very supportive alumni at Connecticut College as well, a master's student at University of Dallas, a friend of many of you here today, civic leader, a volunteer, a woman's liber for Stacy and Marcia and Sarah and Kate and Michelle, and even for Bradley and Eli, and a Nana and a Mom Joy and a mom. Thank you.
This is an amazing sight. Hine matov umanaim shevet achim gam yachad. How good and beautiful it is for brothers and sisters to celebrate Jewish education together. I look around tonight, all of us, Reform, Conservative, Orthodox. Tonight, we're all Jews, here for one purpose, to learn Jewish. Joy and Ron, this beautiful video tribute certainly says a lot, but by no means does it say it all. I cannot speak on behalf of the dozens of organizations and institutions that have been the beneficiaries of your generosity in both time and financial resources, but I can speak on behalf of the Center for Jewish Education and let you know tonight how very much we appreciate both of you. Since PJ Library is all about stories, I want to tell you all a story with a very happy ending. On Thursday afternoon, December 16th, 2010, Joy and Ron Mankoff paid me a visit in the offices of the CJE, which are housed in the Mankoff Center for Jewish Learning at the JCC. They wanted to know about the programs that were taking place in the Mankoff Center. As Janie Schultz and I visited with them, they wanted to know if there were any particular programs that we wanted to pursue, but simply did not have the funding to make happen. When I pulled out our wish list, their eyes immediately were attracted to a program called PJ Library. They asked a few questions about what it was, and I explained to them all of the details and of the challenges we had faced for a couple of years trying, as they do in most communities, to cobble together a consortium of donors to raise enough to put the program together. After all, it was not an inexpensive proposition. PJ Library requires a 3-year commitment for the subscriptions, and we estimated a need for about 800 subscriptions in Dallas, plus funding for staff, programming, marketing, etc. That is why most communities, there are waiting lists to receive the books due to a lack of funding. The Mankoffs were quiet, and I gave them a packet of literature with a few sample books to take home and read. The next morning, I received a phone call from Ron. Meyer, excuse me, my voice is not as deep enough. Meyer, Joy and I talked it over, and we want to bring PJ Library to Dallas. So I said to myself, very nice. I figured, now I'll need to find only a few more donors who are going to make this happen. So Ron, I said, how many subscriptions would you like to fund? The answer was swift and resolute, all of them. We want to fund the entire program. You know the word chalish? I almost passed out. It wasn't long before I had Paul Lewis, our national PJ Library representative, on a plane to Dallas to meet with the Mankoffs to launch the program in Dallas. While many communities send one book per family, the Mankoffs insisted that every child be entitled to their own book. By September of 2011, we launched the program, and within 3 months, we'd already run out of subscriptions. For most communities, this would be a problem. Not in Dallas. The Mankoffs had already begun to see the transformational work of this dynamic program. Their directive was quick and decisive. Any Jewish child who wants to participate in this program will have that opportunity. Today, as you heard earlier, nearly 1,800 children receive PJ Library books and CDs in their mailboxes each and every month. If you ask any parent, they will tell you that when their child comes home from school or daycare, they rush to the mailbox to see if their special package from the Mankoffs has arrived. Their joy, that word keeps coming up tonight, joy, is realized when they find their gift. That is not where the story ends. Since PJ Library has come to Dallas just 2 years ago, there have been more than 160 PJ Library programs hosted by more than 20 community partners that include nearly every synagogue, temple, day school, and preschool in our community. The CJE itself hosts monthly programs with an average participation of 150 to 200 children, parents, and grandparents every month. We have had 2 annual PJ birthday bashes with approximately 650 individuals in attendance at these events. 6 of our community's preschools are now enrolled in PJ Goes to School, a program which includes teacher training and curriculum for 3 and 4-year-olds. Between 30 and 40% of the families receiving PJ Library books were not on any Jewish communal mailing list. Think about that. 30 to 40% of these families were on no one's list, no one's mailing list. There are PJ playgroups popping up in different neighborhoods across Dallas, and young families are meeting and exploring what the larger Jewish community has to offer them. We are engaging the unengaged and bringing the beauty of Jewish life and values to a new generation of young families. PJ Library has permeated every facet of young family engagement in Dallas, and we won't stop there. And this is the happy ending of the story. As you heard me say on the video a few moments ago, one of the Mankoff's favorite PJ Library books is entitled Something from Nothing, taken from the original Yiddish Epis von Gornisht. That's what you have done in Dallas, Ron and Joy. You have created something from nothing, and that is truly something. Joy and Ron, would you please join me on the stage? What do you give to someone who needs nothing? The children of the Dallas Jewish community wanted to express their great affection and appreciation to you. More than 1,000 of them have sent you special greetings on this occasion, and we present them to you tonight on their behalf. And let me read the inscription on this case. I want you to see this. It says, "To Joy and Ron Mankoff, with great appreciation and affection, on behalf of the children of the Dallas Jewish community, thank you for giving us something from nothing." Presented by the Center for Jewish Education, Jewish Federation of Greater Dallas, March 20th, 2014. Joy and Ron, may you go from strength to strength, and may you be blessed with many more years of good health and nachas, again, that joy word keeps coming up, from all of the wonderful deeds that you have bestowed on our community. We are truly fortunate to have you in our midst.
Thank you.
Well, I had some notes that I put down, and I had asked Meyer, as a matter of fact, was anyone going to say anything about PJ Library? And I did write some notes on PJ Library, but I think so much of it has been said. But we are so pleased to be receiving this award, and particularly from Meyer. We've had such a good time with him for the past couple of years developing this program. When we started, there were 145 communities with PJ Libraries, but not Dallas. We found that phenomenal, just amazing. And when it was presented to us by Meyer, with Janie sitting there smiling and offering answers when asked, and having a few selling points of her own, as Meyer said, it didn't take us time at all. We didn't think it would be seemly, however, to say, oh yes, we want it right away. So we went home and we're going to talk about it, and of course, we loved it from the start. They have testimonials every once in a while where they hear from people. And one of my very favorite ones was from a non-Jewish woman who wrote and said, I promised my husband that I would raise our children Jewish, but I didn't know how until now. And that's just the most meaningful thing to us. And then there was the time another favorite book of mine is Bagels from Benny, or Benny's Bagels, or something like that. And I was telling Bradley, our oldest child, about it. And he said, oh, Nana, that's a classic. So there are lots of people who know about the PJ Library books. You know now really all about it, but we're so glad that you're here, and we're so appreciative of your attendance, and we're so appreciative of Federation's putting together this wonderful package for us to help with. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. This is a tool that speaks to the continuity of Judaism and to education, two of the causes that we have pursued.
It's going to be hard to follow that. For many of us, continuity of Judaism is both a cherished hope and a cause for action. We justify that cause not only from a sense of loyalty to our ancestors, but also because Judaism has, during its thousands of years on earth, been a force for good, a remarkable force that brought God to earth, that brought the commandments, that changed the relationships between humanity and nature, and that defined relationships between people in the way that Hillel did, as do not unto others. But how do we advance this cause for continuity? We have long believed that education is a start. An educated Jew will build on the principles of Judaism and pass them on from generation to generation with respect to its continuity and its perseverance. By education, we see no limits. Jewish education means an understanding of the core beliefs of Judaism, the Torah teachings, the wisdom of those who have gone before us, and the wisdom of those teachers and philosophers who are with us now. But we know that education alone can only advance this cause. However, we must start. As we often say after Rabbi Tarfon, we may not complete the task, but neither may we desist from beginning it. Thank you so much for being here to share our cause.
Will you go first, John?